Yo dudes, what's going on? What is going on? Carter here. Got another video for you. Realized today that I didn't actually do an official review, first look, whatever the case may be, of my Microtech Combat Troodon that I have here. I love this thing. I freaking love this thing. Really awesome. So first off, this is the larger size of the Troodon family. There is a Microtech Troodon, and it's smaller. It's actually smaller than the Ultratech. I think it has a 3-inch blade. Very similar to this design-wise, just not as big. So this is the Combat Troodon, and it has, let's see, what is the blade length? Almost a 4-inch blade, like 3.75, I believe is the official listing of it. Entire length is a little over 9 inches, and that does not include the glass breaker slash pommel slash skull crusher, whatever you want to call it. One thing I noticed when I watched my unboxing video of this, as well as my Halo 5, is that this camera does not capture the sound at all, or the speed. Both of those knives, for some reason on film, seem to go so much slower than they do in real life when you're playing with it. Because I remember I talked extensively about how hard and fast that Halo 5 fires, and then I went back and watched the video, and I'm like, that doesn't look like it fires that quick. And you also couldn't hear the sound, so keep that in mind. When I got this, I went ahead and went with the red anodized aluminum handles, just for something a little different, and I'm really glad I did, because this is not a bright blingy red, you know what I mean? This is a very subdued, kind of deep, almost maroon kind of red. So absolutely glad I got that. This features the new screws right here, proprietary, so I cannot take this apart, which is fine. There's not really a need to. Unlike a manual folder or things like that, aside from, you know, it might help for cleaning, aside from that, there's really no adjusting you can do to this. You know, you can't, there's nothing to tighten, there's no pivot to tighten, nothing like that. And it kind of is what it is. You know, unless you're an extremely well-versed craftsman and machinist, you know, you really couldn't do a lot by getting inside there, so that is just fine. I have carried this for a couple of days, which I can do legally here with the CCW, and it carries very well. It has a very deep pocket clip right there, very deep carry. Unfortunately, you cannot take off this glass breaker, because that is what's holding the pocket clip on, but it's not that big a deal. Rides very, very well. It's nice thin profile, really just kind of disappears inside your pocket. You know, it kind of just occupies the space over here, and then you can put in whatever you want on this side there. Let's take a look at this glass breaker. One thing that's cool about this is it's kind of a bead blasted or media blasted all the way around. You can see the pyramid steps there, but at the very top it actually has a hardened steel ball bearing, which is a very nice touch. So that can definitely handle any sort of impacts that you want to give it. Also would act very well as a non-lethal weapon option if that's what you wanted to do, and its shape just works really well for that. You know, you can just really grab around it like that. Feels really good. The action, super nice. I went with the dagger blade just because it really maximizes what an OTF has to offer, right? I mean, you know, if you're talking about a blade that's going to come out the front of a handle, one thing you can do that you can't really do, or is very hard to do, on a side opening knife is have both edges sharp. So one of the reasons why I got this version is because it really just uses the advantage of an OTF to its maximum capacity. I mean, you really can't have a folding knife, or, I mean, this isn't a folding knife, but it's the same concept, right? I mean, it's not a fixed blade. The blade retracts into the handle, and you can't really have a folding knife where both sides are sharp very easily, unless you go with something kind of like this. It makes it, you know, really hard to close. If you tried to do a side opening knife that had both, you know, a dagger knife like this that had both sides sharp, and this came very, very sharp. It'd be really hard to do. You'd basically have to have some sort of big choil on the back here that would allow you to push it closed, and you'd always run the risk of sliding up it and cutting yourself. And then it would also have to completely close within the handle so that none of that other sharpened side was actually sticking out. So anyways, that's why I went with this style, because it really exemplifies the whole out the front concept and what makes out the fronts kind of so cool. And what is the point of a knife like this? Definitely not a hard use knife. If you look at my videos where I look inside a double action OTF, there's not a huge amount of strength behind what's keeping this open. Basically a little piece of steel right here that is spring powered to pop underneath the tang, but only on this one side. So not a ton of strength. They can actually handle a surprising amount though. I also have another video where I take one of the clones and I pound it through a piece of wood and it actually survives. And then there's a bunch of videos out there with somebody doing similar things to an actual Microtech. So, you know, it's surprisingly strong, but still, you know, it's not as strong as your traditional folding knife, or most traditional folding knives, or many traditional folding knives. But it's still very, very nice. You know, this is definitely a tactical, defensive type knife, as well as just a light to medium duty carry knife. You know, it can handle any sort of package opening, any sort of paper cutting, anything of that nature. You know, you don't really want to be torquing down on this thing as you're cutting, but it could definitely handle quite a bit of slicing and things like that. But obviously, the dagger blade is best for puncturing. And one of the cool things about an OTF is, well, first of all, let's take a look at a traditional folding knife, a side folding knife. It's kind of funny because generally the consensus is you should never use a folding knife in a thrusting type motion, and yet there is many, many examples of blade styles that are made for thrusting that are used on traditional folding knives. So it's a little bit of a, you know, a hypocrisy there. One good thing about this OTF knife is you have no fear of doing a thrust on this knife. If this lock were to fail on you, this blade is just going to go straight back into the handle. Unlike a folding knife, side folding knife, it's not going to close and chop your fingers off. It's simply going to retract back into the handle where it started. So definitely kind of a cool concept, and that's another reason why I really have a preference for these dagger style blades on out the front knives. But any style blade, same type of thing. You know, any sort of thrust you do, you don't have to worry about the lock failing and hurting you. I mean, obviously the lock failing could be a bad thing in other respects, but it's not going to close and slice off your fingers and things like that. Another cool kind of thing with these knives is it's got a built-in thumb ramp, and that is the switch here. It actually, you know, you open this up, your hand is locked in to just a great thumb ramp automatically. The second you fire this, you are in a great position for any sort of movements, as well as thrusting and things like that, or just, you know, using the knife. It gives you nice control having your thumb on this little ramp right here. And as you can see, it's got a nice stepped pattern there, so you are not going to slide up. Very grippy, very, very good jimping. I mean, I guess you would call that jimping, that pyramid step type pattern right there. The grip on the rest of the handle is good. The anodizing gives it kind of a nice matte type feeling to it. And then you've got these waves that are actually cut into, let's see if we can get a closer look here, that are molded into the handle there. And so that gives you lots of additional grip. And then there's even more all along here, just all along this whole knife. You get all kinds of great grip options available to you. In reverse grip, you can really do it both ways. It feels kind of more comfortable to do it this way, but once again, with that dagger blade, you know, it really doesn't matter if you do it that way, this way, just whatever's the most comfortable, or whatever happens to end up position-wise when you deploy this knife, especially if you needed to do it quickly. It would work in either fashion. And you know, aside from that, this thing is just no, it's a functional piece of art. It's just gorgeous. I love that satin finish with those grind lines and the nice kind of fuller cutout here in the middle. Very good stuff. S35 VN on this this blade. This one was done in 05, 2012. And Microtech, if you wonder, they do things in runs. You know, obviously, just effective wise, they get all their equipment together to produce certain models at certain times of the year. So that's why you'll see them kind of fluctuate. You know, 1 second you'll see a bunch of whale sharks out on the market everywhere. Whale sharks, whale sharks, whale sharks. And then a few months later, those will be gone, and then it's on to something new. And it's not that those are gone. It's just probably gone for that year. It won't be till the next year that they do another run of those. So it makes it kind of cool because it's somewhat limited when you buy these. Because if you miss your chance to get a particular knife, you may have to wait a while. But usually they will come back and produce them again. Alright guys, so that's it. Just another quick look, or not so quick look, at my Microtech Combat Troodon. Alright guys, take it easy.